Hello and welcome to the Hawkeye.org. My name is Nick Fiorillo. I'm the editor-in-chief of the Hawkeye. We're joined today by the 2015-2016 Executive ASB officers, President Leo Ewing, Vice President Jean An, Secretary Andrea Portugal, Treasurer Caitlin Anderson, Public Relations Officer Irvin Zhang, and Historian Cody Bowman. First, we want to know, what are some of your priorities and goals for the next year?
Well, two of my main priorities next year. The first one would be recognition. I wanted to, from my last review, I mentioned how I wanted to recognize students all around our school with groups and clubs and sports and individuals. I really want to put their names out there and recognize the great things that they're doing at our school. And the second one would be to increase student involvement regarding like assemblies, spirit days, sporting events. I really want to push people to go out and support our teams next year, and not just the teams that are big like basketball and football, but also the ones that don't get as much recognition, like tennis and baseball, softball, wrestling, and all that.
Actually, building off of that, like kind of from my last interview, I'd also like to do the thing that our current ASB president, Teron Castleton, is doing, where he's meeting with each of the clubs and hearing their concerns, kind of prevent what again happened to Week of Love. That way we have kind of the full input of our whole school. That way whatever we do, like a lot more all-school events, we'll get a bigger variety of kind of inputs. That's what you call it.
Yeah, definitely more school involvement. I think we've been starting to do a really good job. We've started to make posters for different clubs so far, and that's a small start, but there's definitely more to do.
Yeah, I would agree. I'd say going off of recognition, inclusiveness, kind of just like making sure that everybody like feels not only recognized but included in our school's atmosphere.
I think they listed all the goals that we have for next year, but for me personally, being this is my first year to Big Six and my second year in general to ASB, I want to learn from Leah, who's done it this is her third year in a row, and Jean, who's also done it twice in a row, and so just learn what I can, the tricks of the trade, and yeah.
Yeah, one of the things I want to do is also with involvement, since that's what we're talking about. With ASB, people running for ASB, I find it sort of sad that they're like, for the junior class, only 4 people are running when there's 11 spots. I think it would be so great if we could have a lot more people running. That would just be awesome.
Yeah, regarding our junior class, I think we're going to spend a lot of time with them since we only have 4 people for our class at ASB, so we'll be helping them a lot.
It's also a good idea, probably we're going to talk to the kind of the freshman class, actually the class of 2018, because as of right now, I think they have over 13 people registered to run for ASB, which is more than the current spots available. And actually a majority of that is for the kind of the officer positions, not just representatives. So I mean, talk with them, see what's up, what's driving them to do more than what's driving our classes now.
And a group that I also really want to help out next year would definitely be Interhigh. I think Interhigh does a lot of great things for our school, and we don't really recognize it as much, or we don't really push it. Like Care Week, we've never really taken Care Week as a major week at our school, but I really like the whole idea of helping the community and helping organizations worldwide instead of just our school. So I really want to help Interhigh really get their voice out there more and have people be more involved with the things that Interhigh does do.
Great. You mentioned a little bit, but how do we encourage more people to run for ASB? You mentioned there's a huge problem with that. How specifically, what can the Big Six officers do to help really encourage more students to become involved in ASB? What are some of your ideas for next year?
So what I've been telling the people at our class, which actually surprisingly got quite a few people to run for the class under us, the 2017 class. I basically told them the class ASB really is the class that provides your prom and funds, and prom is such a big deal in high school society. And so like I told them straight up, like, if you guys don't have a good class ASB, you might not even have a prom. That'd be crazy. And they were like, oh really? So that kind of drove them to get more people signed up, more better people suited and stuff like that. So I guess a tactic we could use is kind of think about what motivates the classes or even the people of our school to do things, and kind of use that as like a goal for them so they could be more involved in ASB.
Yeah, definitely advertising more ASB. That would help, because not very many people know what ASB does or who we are, or all the fun things that come along with it. So if we mention that more, I think more people would join.
Yeah, like going off the fun things, like when I was kind of talking to juniors trying to get them to run for class, they're kind of like only focused on, oh, I have to go to 0 period leadership, like, oh, like no one really likes that much, like it's just a hassle, but they didn't really realize like all the like cool, like hyped up things that we get to do and like all the influence that we have, and we always know what's going on, just like they've only seen kind of the complaints, not the praises. So just kind of like, I guess like spreading that around and like helping people again like really realize what ASB is.
I think also another big thing is like kind of going off of what everyone else has said, we haven't really distinctly said like what each group does. Like a lot of people get confused, like not everyone knows specifically like what Big Six does and what class does. They kind of just mold us all into one. So I think saying specifically like in class you'll be doing this will really help people and push them to try it out.
And bottom line, I feel like the student body is developed because they don't know. They develop a connotation that's kind of bad associated with ASB, like, oh, they don't do anything. Oh, I have to deal with Stu. Oh, leadership this, or stuff like that. So I feel like we have to lead it by example and kind of fix that and turn that around and showing them what ASB truly does and what they actually bring to the school and how they make the school environment such a welcoming place.
Yeah, I was actually approached by a sophomore who wanted to run for ASB and was worried that the workload would be too much, but I told them that ASB can be what you make it, so you can run for a small position like a representative if you only want to do, if you don't want to do as much work as, let's say, the president of the class. So there's a spot for everyone.
Yeah, and it's only hard work if you make it hard work, but it's so much fun and you're doing so much to help people that it's not really work when you're having so much fun with it.
And again, another thing we could do is based off what Andrea said. For example, I know one of the freshman class, 2018 officers that signed up recently, the only reason why she really signed up is because one of the seniors on our ASB was like kind of telling them about ASB, and they were like, because they've got experience, so we could really use the help of the upperclassmen that have been involved in stuff like that for them to kind of set the example and tell them what's really up.
All right. Now I want to move on to the issue of the budget and fundraising. As you all know, federal guidelines really restricted the kinds of fundraisers that student groups could do in relation to selling food on campus. I want to give you some numbers real quick that were released at a recent school board meeting, a report about vending and student store revenue. By this time last year, before the new federal guidelines, there had been $15,000 made at the student store. This year, it's just over $2,000. For vending, last year by this time, they brought in $9,000, and this year it's just about $4,000. So there's definitely some, hard challenges that you guys will have to face for the budget next year. What are some ways that you're thinking of for solutions to this budget problem and the funding crisis, and how can we help as ASB? How can ASB help different clubs, different teams make up for some of these losses?
Yeah, vending machines is definitely one of the things that has really taken a toll on our budget this year, and all our clubs and sport teams and anything that is funded by ASB has definitely felt it. I think something that we could do is we could encourage sport teams to, if they need the money, to go out and fundraise it, and also ASB in general, so us six, would pull out fundraisers, like make dances that their profit goes straight to ASB, or have like sell things, not like candy or anything that the federal law has restricted us on, but other things like the freshman class, they sold Teddy Grahams for Valentine's Day, which was super successful. And I think if we just get more creative with things that we can sell, that we're allowed to, that would really help us.
Another thing we've also really wanted to do is our activities director, Kim Stewart, of course, he's kind of had this idea for the longest time, and basically what it'd be is our ASB cards, you need to buy one if you want to do any extracurricular stuff like sports or clubs or stuff like that. We could somehow work with companies all around us, like food places, for example, and get like student discounts if you have an ASB card, stuff like that. Basically, give more perks and benefits to buying an ASB card, even if you're not going to do necessarily a club or a sport. That way you get kind of discounts or benefits from other places besides just at school.
Going back on what Leah said, yeah, creativity really is what we need right now with the problem of vending. our class, the class of 2016, has been selling flower grams, and that's the way we've gotten around the whole candy thing. So if we can be more creative with what we do, then we can make more money.
Yeah, because junk food isn't the only way to make money in high school. Like the bears they sold and the flowers we sold, those are all ways around that selling just junk food. And I think those ways can have been more successful if we think outside the box and do other things.
I would say like, of course, like the fundraising, like we've said, but maybe with the things that we've already bought, with the money that we already have, maybe focusing on conservation. So like with even like paints and papers, like don't like use more than you have to, or like with scrap posters, like don't throw them away, like put them in the recycling. So then maybe someone could use it back, or maybe we could use it for paint, like trays or whatever. Just like being conscious that we don't have a lot of money and not, I don't know, just being very thrifty with it.
And I think bottom line, because we're so new to having this restriction, it's going to be kind of like a culture change. We're going to have to deal with the restrictions, and we're just going to have to navigate past it. I feel like this is going to be hard for us at first, but by the end of it all, maybe in like 10 years, the ASB will just look at it like, oh, okay, this is just something that we have to deal with. It's fine.
All right, now we're going to a question from Twitter. Sophomore Elizabeth Jurgensen asks, how will you accommodate those students who cannot attend ASB morning meetings? So we'd like your answer on that question and the bigger issue of making ASB more accessible to students.
Well, me and Andrea were discussing one time about how we were thinking of putting out our ASB meeting minutes on some sort of social media output or somewhere online so people can read it, see what's going on at our meetings and see what we're discussing, and then also give us feedback on what they think. So that way we can not only get our ASB representatives input, but we can also get the student bodies as well.
Yes, that was actually one of my main points when I was campaigning, that I was going to put out the notes online, and I was thinking of putting it maybe on a Google Doc. That way every time we had a new meeting I could just add on to it, and then everyone could just see what was going on.
And that question hits me kind of hard because I'm the public relations officer, and I want to make it my goal to be the bridge, as I've mentioned many times before, between the student body and ASB, and make it easily accessible. Like most students, they have social media, and I want to make it so that I'm easily approached. You can find me on Twitter, you can find me anywhere. Even if you see me in the halls, I want to make it so that it's not intimidating. Just come up to me and voice your opinion. However, which way you want to do it, and so
Yeah, Irvin makes a really good point. So far, I feel like Big Six or ASB isn't really approached by many of the student body, and we just really want to make it so that this year anyone can just come up to us and talk to us, ask anything.
I definitely think that should be a goal for us six specifically, just because I feel like we represent the school itself, and we represent all the students that go to the school, not just a specific class or a specific group. And I think that our main goal should be that we should seem approachable enough and friendly enough for people to be able to come up to us, voice their concerns and their ideas and anything that they want to do for the school to make the school a better place, because that's definitely our job as ASB executive officers, to make the school a better place for the students themselves.
I definitely kind of see that happening too, because like for example, through Link Crew, our Link Crew program here, we kind of come in contact and we interact with a lot of the freshmen, the incoming classes, and which I think is great. And a lot of them through that, I've been able to like make connections with the lower underclassmen, and they've been able to come up to me, and I've had like random people like come up to me, and like not just me, but just like people in our ASB when I'm just talking about some other issues or something like that. They'll come and be like, oh, we have a question about this thing, and then we're able to answer it. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I would definitely say like, if we're like in the halls, if you have a problem, like if you have a concern, like even if you like want to like make a suggestion, like and you feel like you want to just like talk to one of us, or you can't make it to a meeting, like don't, I guess, like be afraid to do it, or like don't like feel like we'll be like, oh, that's like not a good idea, because like we're like, we want to hear your voices, like we've all said, like just like come talk to us and like get to know us, and like we'll get to know you, and it'll just like it'll make our school like so great, because everyone's like talking to each other and like sharing their ideas. Yeah
Yeah, definitely. We all love talking. Just walk up to us. We're open book. Just we'll talk.
Yeah.
We'll talk. All right. Any final thoughts from you guys about next year or your priorities for the coming year?
I'm just really looking forward to working with all of you guys and helping your school out and serving it.
ASB is not Illuminati.
Yeah, we're not Illuminati.
Alrighty. Thank you guys so much for joining us. You've been watching the Hawkeye.org.
Go Hawks.